An updated report on the state of affairs related to hate speech in Norway was published by the ombudsperson for equality. It comments that, quote, any discussion on free speech must start with the protection of freedom of speech in Section 100 of the Constitution. Most speech is allowed in Norway, and freedom of speech is an essential principle in Norwegian law. However, freedom of speech is not absolute. Norwegian law prohibits certain types of serious hate speech by either such speech being forbidden by various provisions of the criminal code or by the victims being given the opportunity to seek civil damages for the offense. Criminal Code Section 135A protects against serious hate speech which willfully or through gross negligence is made publicly. I think they meant public. The speech must threaten or insult someone or incite hatred, persecution, or contempt for someone because of their skin color or national or ethnic origin, religion or belief, sexual orientation, or disability.
Just insult is enough then? Look, insult.
Yeah.
Wow.
Must threaten or insult or incite hatred, persecution, or contempt because of their skin color, religion or belief, sexual orientation, or disability. So this part had me like, wait a second, religion or belief? Like, could someone be
belief. What about lack of
prosecuted
belief?
because of so-called Islamophobia?
What about atheism? Lack of belief.
That's a good point. Non-belief is not covered in the language of this code.
What about belief in, I don't know. Wait, so what about homophobia?
That falls under sexual orientation.
No, but what if I insult somebody because of their homophobia?
That's homophobia.
That's like, true. What if okay, so this is how this thing turns on itself, okay? I could be like, hey, look at this. Okay, so persecution based on belief, okay? So what if you come and say, hey, my deeply held belief is that I'm a homophobe and everybody should be a homophobe. And now you're arrested. I'm like, I'm arrested. Well, you should be arrested too because you're prosecuting me based on my belief. I mean, everybody will get arrested.
So, well, here's the thing. Wait. Trolls is bringing up a good point. That's a wrong translation to English. I don't know how to say this. I don't know. Does not mean insult. It means demean. Just saying for the sake of accuracy. Wait, were you able to pull this up in the actual language? Because how do you know that?
Earl speaks it. That he was saying from the beginning that he's available if we want to. But this is what okay, hold on. This is what I see. That's what's happening. This is what's happening. And I want to be home. Oh, you're arrested for homophobia. Well, you're prosecuting me for my homophobia. This might be. I mean, I don't know. How does this work? So that I don't know.
So Varun gave us a super chat. Thank you for the $10, Varun. Saying my feeling is that they made a law out of psychological method. Similarly, believe the victim's psychological technique is being propped to be put in law. These are good methods on the couch, not law. Made the law out of psychological method. I'm not exactly sure I understand what you mean with this. I think you're questioning the validity of just an absolutist believe the victim mentality. I think that's what you're getting at.
Thank you for the super chat.
Thank you for the super chat. So wait, there's more that we should get into.
Okay, we do have some comments from Secular Proton and Troel, who are interesting. I don't know if you want to highlight those.
So it states furthermore that in Norway there is a very high threshold before speech is considered criminal. Prosecutors have pursued that just under 10 prosecutions of violations of Criminal Code 135A in the past decade. So in the past decade, there's been under 10 prosecutions for this. Like, why? What is the use? I don't get this.
It's just fuel for transphobics and homophobes. Given that you're not even using the law, you just have it in the book. Just have it in the book so that people could use to justify, to just play the victimhood card and give authoritarian regimes an excuse to be like, well, you too, you have it too, right? What are you talking about us? Yeah, just a law that is not doing anything, that is not helping anybody, just under 10 people in the past decade. I mean, first of all, even if you did arrest more people, it actually backfires. It doesn't help anybody. But you're not even using it. So just have it there just so that people could use it to justify authoritarianism. Why not? Why not Norway? Just like be a symbol of authoritarian values and just give people who want to betray Enlightenment ideas an excuse to use you as president. Why not? Just have this on your books. Sure.
Yeah, and out.com has the gall to call this a huge win. Like, are you freaking kidding me? Social science research shows that both legal and illegal hate speech inflicts major harm on society and individuals. If you want to fight the harm that both legal and illegal hate speech inflicts on individuals and society, it is useful to operate with a definition of hate speech that includes both categories. In addition, the definition of hate speech should take into account both the intention behind and the effects the speech has on the person or persons affected. This report therefore uses a broad social science definition of hate speech rather than the more limited definition provided in the Criminal Code. The Ombuds's office operates from the following definition. Hate speech is degrading, threatening, harassing, or stigmatizing speech which affects an individual's or group's dignity, reputation, and status in society by means of linguistic and visual effects that promote negative feelings, attitudes, and perceptions based on characteristics such as ethnicity, religion, gender, disability, sexual orientation, gender expression, gender identity, and age. Norwegian law prohibits certain types of hate speech either through being unlawful under various provisions of the Criminal Code or through victims being given the opportunity to seek civil damages for the offense. The Criminal Code also contains provisions that protect against serious hate speech, 135A, threats, 227, harassment, 390A, defamation, sections 246 and 247, and violation of privacy, section 390. Some types of speech, those are already crimes.
Right. See, like, here's the problem. Okay, a lot of people say, like, Armin, well, the hate speech could be defined as harassments or threats or violations of privacy.
It's already a crime.
But the problem is that, first of all, you don't need new laws. Just make harassment illegal. Just make defamation illegal. Just make violation of privacy legal. You don't need separate laws for this. Just make threats illegal. Okay. The problem is that when you have libel, yeah, just okay. The problem is that when you introduce laws like this, you include all of those things that already should be crime under other categories, and then you introduce a new one, which is just basically just speech or insult. Like you see, like what the 135 one. That is different. One of these things is not like the other, right? You have threats. Yeah, that's bad. Harassment, not beyond bad. That should be illegal. Threats, harassment should be illegal. Defamation should be illegal. Violation of privacy should be illegal. All of this should be illegal. But the hate speech one, the insult one, like you're just putting them next to these other ones as if they're the same. That shouldn't be illegal. That shouldn't be illegal. And these shouldn't be grouped together as fighting against discrimination. This should just be illegal as a whole. And when you package it and try to sell it as fighting discrimination, then you're going to be able to smuggle in authoritarian and anti-free speech measures in it right next to the stuff that is already criminal and people will support it as being a crime anyways. It just provides a cover. Those things that should be a crime provides a cover for the smuggling in of the laws against actions that shouldn't be a crime. Because when most people look at it and we're like, well, harassment, obviously that should be legal. Am I against these measures? Harassment, violations of privacy. I don't want to be against these measures. These seem to be good measures. Yeah, but look what's being smuggled in with them. Yes, we are also, yeah, those should be illegal. But look right next to like a list of 5 or 6 things that should be legal. There's just one additional thing that is now thought policing people.
And then it goes on to say some types of hate speech can be punishable by themselves or in combination with other behaviors under these provisions.
Oh,
it's like it says, like hate speech can just be combined with these things.
Terrell is clarifying something.
Joel saying the hate speech clause is actually clause 185, not 35A. This is a bad error because 135, my dyslexia, technically dyscalculia,
all right,
is about financing Terry's. For those who don't know, that is coded language we use for people who
go boom boom.
Go boom boom. So that's interesting because I was looking other places and I was seeing 135A other places as well. But if you could send me more information about that, I'd be interested. But what I found interesting about this, unless I'm being a dumbass, is that I don't actually find anything about this that talks about protected classes, as Armin was talking about earlier.
Right. See,
so,
by the way, free speech.
My point about this being actually protection for heterosexual people, unless I'm missing something, again, I'm dealing with a language barrier here. I think it still stands.
By the way, a lot of people think, yes, so Smitty is bringing up a point. Harassment should be legal. Free speech doesn't mean that you get to go force your opinions on people, especially if you're in their face, screaming at them and violating their personal space. Like certain level of volume, certain level of discomfort. Like if you, for example, take a megaphone and start shouting on someone's face, that they're going to burn in hell, that's not free speech. That should be a crime under harassment, right? So I do think harassment should be illegal against anybody, not just
protected
class people, right? I do want to bring up what Secular Proton was saying earlier. I don't know how far I need to scroll back up. I missed a whole bunch of other good comments as well. Guys, if I miss your comments, here. Please repost them. Here. What do you think about this, Susie?
Would you change your opinion if definition of hate is very strict and is against people, not ideas? That's how it works in most enlightened countries. It does work after all. Well, citation needed. That's how it works in most enlightened countries. Like what? I need a specific example, and it does work after all. Again, I need to know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, I think this is what they're saying.
Okay. Norwegian countries have been restrictive in the use of hate speech law, and only few persons have been sentenced for violating the law since its implementation in 1970. Yeah, I said that. So, like, what's the point?
No, yeah.
It just gives credence to a lot of people who would like to use those authoritarian measures for other things, and I freaking do not like the concept of the government coming after me and imprisoning me for up to a year because of private comments.
Right, but even if it's against certain people, what you did was okay. So here's the thing. No, okay. First of all, if they define hate in a way that is actually stuff that is illegal, like harassment or violations of privacy, then they shouldn't use the word hate as a definition, because that would be an umbrella term for other things that they could just add on to it that shouldn't be a crime, right? Just you have anti-harassment laws, have anti-libel laws, have anti violation of privacy laws, right? This hate speech is just an excuse for adding a whole bunch of things that shouldn't be legal. And we have seen these so-called enlightened countries thought policing people, especially like we've seen it in the UK, right? We're against this if it's used against Muslims as well, right? So we are against thought policing Muslims as well, right? And also the fact that you're saying is if it's would you change your opinion if the hate is very strict and against people and not the ideas? No, because expressing that is an idea. So even the limitation of people expressing their views against a group of people, you're like, well, it's against people, not ideas. Yeah, that's why we criticize it as a wrong, just because it's okay. Secular proton, I think you don't understand. We our values, our standards is go after ideas and not group of people. Going after group of people is a bad idea, I think. Generalizing is a bad idea. It shouldn't be done. But that doesn't, just because we're against it, that doesn't mean we will accept it becoming illegal, right? Because if you make it illegal, the expression of your hate towards a group of people itself is just an idea. So that person themselves is going after people, but not ideas. But you, by going after their bad ideas legally, now you yourself are limiting certain ideas instead of going after, instead of criticizing them. So it might not be a bad idea. Like the values, the ideas that you're trying to ban itself might not be against ideas. It's against people. But you are now somebody that is banning a certain ideas, even though they are going against some people. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So the expression of bad ideas against a group of people, even though that is directed at the people, but that expression of itself is an idea that now you're trying to make illegal. I don't know if I made that clear. I hope that is not confusing, because
we got a super chat.
Oh, we got a super chat
from Varun. Thank you for the $5, Varun. Looks eerily similar to blasphemy law in Pakistan. Defining what is hate is pretty subjective. Well, there's massive differences.
Yeah.
There are massive differences. Firstly, in Pakistan, blasphemy is punishable by death. I would say that is probably the biggest distinction. A pretty big dissimilarity. Secondly, it's not religiously motivated.
Right.
There is no religion of LGBTQ plus, and there's no presumption of divine authority involved in this. So those are pretty big distinctions. But I agree that defining what is hate does get messy.
Maybe Varun is not saying the part that he or she is comparing is not the level of reaction that the government has, but in the definition, in how messy the similarity is, only in how messy it is to define what is hate. I think that's the only part that Varun is comparing.
That's fair. Yeah.
Okay. Torel is saying the law does speak about classes. It just says you are not allowed to deliberately or egregiously make discriminating or hateful expressions based on X, Y, and Z. Yeah, so you're banning expressions of idea. That is so dangerous. Good job, Norway. Good job at legitimizing authoritarian regimes. You're providing them ample ammunition to be like, well, what's the difference between us and these enlightenment countries?
Well, you gave us some follow-up comments. By the way, the standard of prosecution based on Clause 185 not only have to clear the Norwegian Constitution, but also the European Convention on Human Rights. Yeah. And the European Convention on Human Rights sits below the national constitutions, but above regular laws, including the Penal Code. The European Convention on Human Rights also established an international court to which appeals can be made. Interesting.
Oh, wait. Torel saying does not.
Oh.
I mean, it does not say. Okay, so let's go back up.
Protected classes.
Let's go back up. Makes The law does not speak about classes. It just says you are not allowed to deliberately and egregiously make discriminating or hateful expressions based on X, Y, and Z. So there's no mention of protected. Oh, so that goes into your point
that
Susanna.
heterosexuals are protected under this.
There's no mention of protected classes, so that would mean that heterosexuals should be also protected.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there's a lot of room for pointing out hypocrisy then.
Heterophobia.
I think, because I was thinking, how could I blaspheme against this law without being deplatformed from everywhere on the planet, right? But now I can. I want to blaspheme against this law. All I have to do is go spread hatred against hetero people. So technically that would be a crime, technically, because this law doesn't mention anything against protected classes and says that it's illegal to make any hateful expressions against anybody based on X, Y, and Z. Technically, this law makes it illegal for me to say, straight people suck. Straight people are scum.